Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Vesuvius Town Council, Monday, June 17th at 2:20 in the afternoon. We're a little late getting kicked off today. We just finished our annual general meeting that started at 1 o'clock. So we had some questions being posed by the citizens. So we're just a tad late getting this one started, but here we go. And the first item up would be the adoption of some previous meetings minutes. Committee of the whole minutes from June the 3rd and regular open minutes from June the 3rd. Any council input into that? Any changes, additions, deletions? Hearing none, they will be adopted by consensus. We do have under item C, business arising. We have a report from the administrative staff, and it involves valley-wide joint purchases initiative for fire department apparatus and equipment. This was some information put forward by the regional district and their protective measures department, looking at whether there was going to be savings available if we joint purchased a lot of equipment. Fire Chief Jones made a report to the committee of the whole meeting and said that there wouldn't really be any savings available. In fact, it could be a little bit less than desirable. Council at that time asked for a report from Director Zackel, not really so much as a report or a study, but if he agreed with that position, and I believe we have Mr. Zackel here for that report, and we will take that forward and make that decision today. Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So this was brought to my attention this morning by Fire Chief Rick Jones, and I had some time to ponder over the idea, going from my past experience of being in the fire department for a number of years. There are some benefits to group purchasing, definitely, but the drawbacks that you find is with the fire departments in not only just our area but the outlying areas, you find a lot of them are operating with different pieces of equipment, different types of equipment, and as well, when you're talking about the smaller jurisdictions, you're not purchasing a lot of equipment in the years being. So while the idea has some merit, I also understand the fire chief's position of saying he doesn't feel that, you know, in the big picture it would work for them. If there's some way of, you know, being involved in some respect where it's not taking up a lot of staff time and council time, things of that nature, it might be beneficial to see where these costs come back in. But if you really think about it, if they get into the committees where they're going in and reviewing and critiquing different jurisdictions and different pieces of equipment, when you really look at the costs in the big picture, you know, they're probably going to break even in their savings in the long run.
Okay, so you're okay with this moving into, because I think the direction of council, if we didn't approve this, was we would send a letter saying that we weren't interested. Is that what you are okaying, or should we? It seems to me that maybe we should be having a second look at this and seeing if there is, because I know even Fire Chief Jones was stating that there might be some savings on hoses or some things like that, but you know, like there's clothing, apparel providers, the uniform providers. Well, we don't use the same ones, no. So we don't want to start swinging over to that. We've been obviously and probably using the same supplier for a long number of years and are getting good prices on that. So I think council, what we're looking for is some direction on. We're looking for a yes or a no, and you're giving us a maybe, Mr. Zackel.
I am, because when you really look at the big picture, there is merits to it.
Okay.
But you know, bar none, our fire chief is the one that's in the field right now. He is doing the work. He is working with his crews. Their crew is going through the budget process as far as you know, purchasing their equipment. They've been able to maintain budget, so there's never been an issue of them you know, not being able to capture everything that they needed. You know, throughout the thing. So they've done a very good job. They're very frugal in getting extra or additional costs and things of that nature in there. And that's why I'm cautious on it, because if we go into it, you could be spending a lot of time to do something for the city of Penticton when it's working right now for the town of Osuyas because of the size.
Okay. Hearing your comments again, I think I'm going to turn it over, and I see council wants to have some comments, and let's just find the track we're going to take on this fairly quickly, please, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to mention that out of respect for your comments and that kind of thing, I think I would be pretty comfortable with it moving forward. Mr. Jones, this morning, it's fresh in my memory, I remember his words were, we exhaust all possibilities when we do purchases of all kinds, and they get competitive bidding. And when you combine that with the other two things that, traditionally they've been on budget every year, rarely have I ever seen any kind of difficulties with it. And I always worry about these types of relationships like this, that perceived savings and money is always eaten up in the administration of trying to save money. And those are real dollars. They're intangible dollars, but they are time spent and have a relationship to reducing the overall savings effect that you may have. So I'd be pretty comfortable with moving forward with it. That's my opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, the key thing here is in the second last paragraph where he says, working on a policy, a joint policy that would be endorsed by everybody. I would, just having been at the racetrack, I try to hedge my bets up there. So I would say that my opinion would be, let us say that we, at this time, we don't feel we're able to participate, but we'd like to stay in touch with them once the policy is developed to see if there's a way in which we could participate.
Okay.
And I think of the model of the regional district where some people opt in and some people opt out of certain services and certain initiatives.
Okay. So thanks for your input, Mr. Zagal. So then do we need a resolution to send that letter?
I think it would be in the best interest, seeing how it came from the mayor's office, that the resolution of council addressed the issue. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And we'll go solo at this point. And that resolution would be Rhodes. Ryan, was that a seconder, Councillor Ryan, on that?
I think as long as we say that we'd like to to stay informed and stay open to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure. I'll.
Okay. Councilman Kordoff, any comments?
Yep. I'm totally in agreement. I was about to say the same thing, that okay. Please tell them that at this time we do not feel it necessary to take part, but we could be interested in the future.
Sure. Okay, we'll draft that, and council will see that letter.
Okay.
All in favor? Yes. Thank you. Now we'll draft it.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, if I may, before
yes.
you leave business arising, in the number 1 of the business from the previous minutes we just adopted, indicate when we appointed an airport expansion committee that there would be 1 more member of council as an alternate being chosen, and we haven't done that yet. So I just didn't want that to get lost.
Okay.
We don't have to do it today, but I think we need to.
Okay. Thanks for that notation. Ms. Van Vienen, can you make a note on that? I don't think we'll appoint today, but bring that forward. I think we'll have some airport business coming forward anyway with that latest report, so it may be appropriate at that time when we again set direction on airport development. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. That brings us down to introduction of late items. So first off, we have a delegation.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, there was a second item, the resolution from the closed meeting this morning.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Remenko, on item 2, business arising.
Yes, this was a resolution that came out of the closed meeting from this morning relating to the sailing club, and the motion read, Councillor Rhodes, seconded by Councillor Ryan, and be resolved that in-camera motion 22512 as follows be made public, that the council approves entering into a letter of understanding with the Lake Osoyoos Sailing Club, which will allow for an exchange of property on the north end of the sailing club lease. There will be no land exchange provided at the south end, that the sailing club will be responsible for paying for sewer hookup fees and installation of a municipal grade pump at a cost of $10,000 at a rate of $1,000 per year for 10 years with interest to be waived, and that the sailing club will be responsible for payment of annual water and sewer fees, and the town will be responsible for paying for costs for providing underground electrical servicing to the clubhouse, and that was carried. So that motion is now in public.
Great. So that has been announced, brought forward. It's actually came from business arising. It now is a late item, and it's appearing as business 4 on the agenda. Ms. Van Vienen?
It's a resolution to receive it into the open meeting.
Okay, resolution to receive. Councillor Rhodes McCordoff, all in favor. Opposed. That is now in the public domain. Now moving to the introduction of late items, we have 2 changes, 2 additions. We have delegation from Mr. Tom Shields, the Child Care Center in Osoyoos, and also the Sailing Club Land Exchange, which will now appear as beef business 4. Could I have a motion to receive those as part of the agenda? Councillor Ryan McCordoff. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor. Opposed. They are now on the agenda. Bringing us to delegations. And the number 1, just a half hour late, sirs. The BC Fruit Growers Association, Glen Lucas, General Manager. Mr. Lucas, please.
And with me today is Jeet Dukia, our president, and Jeet and I will be jointly presenting today. So I'll hand it over to Jeet.
Your Lordship and councillors, we'd like to thank you, give us this opportunity to meet you and give the chance to make our presentation. And we're going to be a 125-year-old organization next year, and I hope you will celebrate with us in Kelowna. And we're going to have a CHC, Canadian Horticulture Council, that's our sister organization in Ottawa. They're going to have their annual general meeting in Kelowna, and they're going to be around 560 delegates, and we want to expose our beautiful valley throughout the country.
Great.
There will be people from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario.
Great.
And like I said, thank you very much. And you guys live, I don't have to explain too many things. You guys are in the middle of the orchards, vineyards, and peaches, cherries, and we are God blessed. We live in this part of the world, or this part of the country. So we're going to talk a few things with you, and then we want always, wherever we're going to go, see the city councillors and mayors. We want us to help our agriculture. We want their full support because we live in an agriculture zone. So please keep in mind all those things. So we're going to have this small presentation. So I start with the outline, competitiveness of the BCT fruit sector, worker housing, water, invasive species, municipal partnership with the agriculture sector, request for action.
Thank you, Jeet. And just to address the competitiveness, I'm sure you're all aware of our tree fruit sector and what our advantages are here. But just to recap that, really our late season is an advantage here. We have high-colored apples because of that late season, ambrosia and gala, and I think this is ambrosia showing up on the bottom here. And our late season cherry production, and the thing there is that we invented these new varieties at the Summerland Research Station, and they mature later. And so we used to be done cherries in July, and now that's going into August and even into September now. So that's made we're the only people in the world producing cherries at that time, and that's a good place to be competitively. Another competitive advantage is relative isolation from other areas. So we're the last area in North America that's free of apple maggot. It's that worm in the apple thing. And it's everywhere. It's in Vancouver, Prince George, it's in Alberta, it's in Washington State. Although they keep their commercial tree fruit areas free of it, it is there. It's not here yet. This is the last place in North America that it hasn't arrived. So that kind of shows how isolated we are. And in that regard, we've been able to operate this area-wide control of codling moth, the sterile insect release program. It's a pest of apples and pears, and because of our isolation, we've been able to do special things here that we couldn't do if we were really connected with other areas. Also on competitiveness, how do we compete with Washington State? They're like 30 times our size. They're the elephant next door. You know, if you're a small hockey player, you know you have to be nimbler and quicker and smarter. So that's what we try to be. Recently, it was interesting reading about it's the largest cherry producer in Okanagan in BC, and he called himself a boutique producer, and he's growing like 400 acres of cherries. So that's, you know, it's not to say boutique doesn't mean a half acre. It means that's kind of the nature of our industry here in BC. We have to do things special. You have to add value. You have to do things higher quality and so on. Institutional support it can be an advantage. The School Fruit and Vegetable Nutrition Program in BC gets BC grown fruits and vegetables into classrooms every other week during the year. We certainly apples and pears feature large in that. It's a way to educate that new consumer. Where we need more work is with our institutions, hospitals, universities, and colleges. We've seen improvements, but you know, we need to get it top of mind that if we're comparable price and quality, that they would always choose BC first, rather than just tick off the box on the order sheet. So we need to get people thinking about that. Factors of production are advantages. Our management of our farms, we have greater adoption of new varieties here than in Washington State, so we have advanced management. Labor, we have the Seasonal Agriculture Worker Program here in BC. That's the Mexican and to a smaller extent Caribbean workers coming. All those workers are granted visas. It's a very highly regulated program. If you drive a few miles south of here, by their own estimate, 80% of the workers are undocumented. That means they don't have visas. And that means that they're really could be outside of all the rules and regulations that we in BC have to follow. So that's a disadvantage in some ways. The advantage is it secures our future. It's not a backyard, back alley deal for us. We're up front and we've got that stability that we need for our labor. Climate I've mentioned. Water will come up later. It can be an advantage for us in the way that we think about water, and that'll be a later slide. Jeet.
Thank you, Glen. Like Glen said, I'm pretty proud to be from North. I'm from Vernon. And in my area alone, in my town, there's at least 350 acres gone into late season cherries, centennials, and which we will be packing from mid-August to almost first week of September. And Mr. Mayor, we're not going to compete with you. I know you guys grow titans and early cherries here. So we are pretty excited about the cherries. Other day we got a good news from Ottawa from Mr. Jerry Rich, our federal agriculture minister, and we got access to Chinese, limited access.
How is that centennial?
Really good.
Is it?
Yes. And we got limited access to China. We work pretty hard with CSC. We work pretty hard with the CFI. And finally, we got a pilot project, and we are pretty excited about opening the gate to China. And next year, we hope we will have full access to the Chinese market. So going forward on housing for foreign workers, we got quite a few issues valley-wide. And every municipality, every regional district is different. This morning we was in Kelowna, and this is the first time I know about Kelowna. All the agricultural land is in the city of Kelowna. And they had made a special provision with the provincial government on the taxes. So every bylaw which can be applied downtown, they apply in the same bylaw on 20-acre orchard. So that was big news to me, and they want to work with BCFCA, they want to work with the growers, how they can live together in harmony with the orchard and the people who like to live in the country. And off-season, like when your workers go home, like you want to have a little extra income, you want to rent those cabins or that housing, which is standard inspected by the Canadian inspectors. And those things we have to be validated from associates to a seminar. We will talk to all the city halls and see if we can come with some universal plan. Like in associates, you guys law, I believe 9 units on 10-acre orchard. Correct me if I'm wrong, your worship. But in Kelowna, it's a different game. In Vernon, we are under regional district, it's a different game. So we want to talk to agriculture minister, land commission. We want to have some universal standards for each city, so we can be monitored and regulated by same standards. And the other comparative issue, there's no government funding for worker housing in BC. A grower, like I spend $18,000 for 2-bedroom unit on my orchard to have Mexican workers, and it has to be inspected by inspector before I can even fill the application. Down south, like Glen was talking about, Washington State, they provide $100 million towards worker housing. And being in the farming agriculture sector here, your worship, I'd like to let you know, a couple of days ago down south, White House passed $500 billion farm bill, which means $100 billion subsidies per year to agriculture sector. And Mr. Obama is pretty high on vegetables and fruit. And he made the law in the United States. Every kid in a high school and a kindergarten have half a plate of veggies and fruit, half a plate of meat. And we are working with our provincial government to have, with our schools, to have something like that. So for the seasonal agriculture work program, SAP we call it, it's pretty dear to us. And without that, we would not be able to operate. And we have some tough time to convince Mr. Kenny, Jason Kenny. He's your second or third very important person on the Hill, Parliament Hill in Ottawa. So he said, no, I got 18% unemployment in Halifax, 20% unemployment in Charlottetown. I'm not going to bring you foreign workers. So CSC took him to Halifax, brought some people to work on the farms. They was all over 50 years old with our demographics. They couldn't work more than an hour on the farm. So then they invited Ms. Finley, our HR minister, and finally they said, no, we will go. We don't want to see that. SAP program is here to stay. So that was pretty welcome news to us. So as Glenn said, that we have the highest standard for safety and sanitation standards for our foreign workers. We pay for their medical, we pay for their airfare, we pay for their UIC and CPP, all that. So what we like to see, our recommendation, have an agriculture advisory committee study and report on the issues to the councils. Glenn?
Thank you. Quickly move on to water here. The graph at the top here shows the solid line. This is actually from the US, but it would be very similar for BC. The solid line shows the historical average flow of water over the year, the left-hand side being January and the right-hand side being December. So what we're seeing is the peak flows are moving earlier in the year. That's the green line, or green blob. The reason that it's not a line is there's 9 climate models that they're averaging out here. So it's you can't say exactly what's going to happen in the future. But you see a lot of water flowing earlier in the year on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side of the graph, the future water flows, the green, will fall under what it currently is. And that's a bit of a double whammy, because if it's hotter, your plants need more water. And that's at a time when there's less water flow. So that's the background for what's going to happen to water in the future. Is Okanagan competitive with Washington State in terms of water? In terms of research quality, I think we are. We've done some very good work up here. although we're smaller, I think Ag Canada, the Ministry of Agriculture, and Okanagan Basin Water Board have all had input and I think done a good job on some climate modeling and getting information that you need as councillors to make some decisions. In terms of efficiency, I think we're competitive. Our agriculture up here has adapted more efficient water use, and what we've seen in municipalities is even though there's population growth, the water consumption is staying at the same level. So that's good news. However, with the climate change, we'll be demanding more water, and the population growth could be faster than it is now. So what we need is to store that water. If we invest in that infrastructure, things will be okay. We've had massive investments in Washington State, and of course they benefit from the Columbia River Treaty storage. In BC, we've had a lack of investment. We've seen a kind of an ad hoc approach to increasing water storage, and the cost to growers has been going up because of water quality issues, that's a real competitive factor for growers if we're paying a lot more for water than in the U.S. And overall, we see it, if you compare the U.S. with what's happening in Okanagan, it's a more splintered approach up here. And certainly the Okanagan Basin Water Board is bringing some cohesiveness to that, but even so, it's more splintered up here than in Washington State. On to invasive pests. Our biggest concerns are some introductions that haven't happened yet. Brown marmorated stink bug, that's it, up there. And these things, they collect in masses, and they especially like people's attics in the winter. So we have instances in the eastern U.S. where, I mean, people are using snow shovels to get these out of their attics. We don't want this here. It's not here yet, but we're concerned. And there's lots of research being done in the U.S. on what to do with it. And this is one of those pests that don't have a solution yet. Apple maggot is another serious pest mentioned. It's not here in the Okanagan yet. We'd like to see more monitoring and so on to protect our area. Our biggest concerns on recently introduced pests: apple clearwing moth. It burrows under the bark of trees, and especially young trees, and can affect them. And we think it's a good candidate for that industry can get the sterile insect release program to help with. Western cherry fruit fly and spotted wing Drosophila are pests of cherries, and that's something that we need more research on, and lots of research is happening there. We'd like to move to a more integrated pest management process on those, but that's a little ways off. We're working on those action plans. The pathway for most of these pest introductions is through urban areas, and it's often said that really if we didn't have any urban host trees in backyards for apples and pears, we really wouldn't need the sterile insect release program. The orchards could control things themselves. But when we have those trees in the backyards, we have a lot of infestation that moves from the urban areas into the orchards. So the municipal role through SIR is to support that area-wide program, and that provides the ability to control these other pests that we're worried about.
Thank you, Glenn. So, Your Worship, we're going to talk about that. We should have a support from municipal and regional district programs currently in place, like wood-based processing. Instead of burning, we like to go valley-wide chipping program. In some cities or some regional district, it's in place. Some places it's not. So we like to see valley-wide implemented. Then sterilize, inspect, release program. It's beautiful. The plant is in your town. You should be proud. That's the only plant in the whole country. And we are the British Columbia is the only province using that technology. And it's like south. You guys should be happy. You are calling mouth free now. Up north, because we start late, The program was implemented in the South Coast, but we are, like I used to put those nasty glutathione sprays 3 to 4 times a year. I haven't used glutathione last 15 years. And I'm using only 1 or 2 sprays, if that, for carding mouth. So that did environmentally, financially, and on the health side, it was big program started 20 years ago, and we are proud of SIR plant in Associates. What we like to see, we like to go expand it to other species, like Glen mentioned about all those. You see in the picture of the nasty stink bug, and that's in the United States. Like they cannot get it up on the eastern seaboard. It's in the attics, it's in the basements, it's everywhere. So we want to see those things do not come to our orchards. And we want to reduce the pesticide use, and as much we can. We want to work with the Ministry of Environment, and during the campaign, during the elections, I see Linda Larson and Madam Premier. We met her 10 miles north of here in a house, and we're going to see every politician to work on agriculture sector, and they don't have enough money in the agriculture ministry. They have to work with environment ministry and Ministry of Health. So SIR is 50% grower funded, 50% come from the property tax funding. And I think it's working, like as mentioned, working beautiful. It had cut down our sprays next to none, you know. Sterling control program, we got some places it's in place, some places it's not. We want to see valley wide again. So industry, on behalf of my members and my executives, I appreciate the partnership with all the municipalities in Okanagan and all the regional districts. And on behalf of BCFEA and our General Manager, Glen Lucas, I'd like to thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. I know that there's questions, but I think you're going to have to come back in the fall or the spring or something like that. There's a lot of questions that I'd like to ask. Some of them about GMO and what your position is on that. It's coming up at Regional District constantly, and we just need some information on that. But unfortunately, it won't be today. So thanks for your presentation. Do come back. Council, any one quick question? Because I'd really like to roll on if I could.
I'd like to answer. Thank you very much, Your Worship. We will come back and answer all your questions. And we are ready to answer now, too.
And you can tell us how those Centennial cherries are doing. I was a cherry grower in the days of Saigon, so we didn't have to worry about cherry fruit fly. But I am glad you're moving where you're going. You're certainly moving forward, and I think there'd be a lot of discussion too about the folks that sell the produce in the province of British Columbia. Maybe they should just have a little more buy local campaign with the local being province-wide. I know they do somewhat of a job, but obviously when you look at the numbers out there, that somewhat of a job could be a little bit stronger. So we're big. We're homeboys here. We like it.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. And thanks, Glen. Do come back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we brought you in on a day when we're already compressed.
That's what you call it.
Thank you. And I happen to know that I think the next delegation is also going to take a bit of time, so that may be a part of my decision. Thank you, gentlemen. Next delegate, Mr. Tom Shields, please. Basic headline issue, Osoyoos childcare.
Yes, it is, and good afternoon. Interesting to look around. I haven't done this for a long time, and you can see how things change with all the microphones and new equipment, but then I look over at the water counselors, I see things don't change. Anyway, this all kind of got started towards the end of May when we heard there was going to be you're not running it yet, right? No, okay. We heard there was going to be changes possibly coming to the daycare that we have in town. And I was the mayor at the time when this all started, and I knew we had a whole bunch of people coming in. So what I have done is after that meeting at the school on May 28th, I put together a video. But just going back to it, I just want to say it was really encouraging because as this video comes out, what you highlighted, and of course the people aren't going to see this, we had a really excellent, I might say, presentation of the state of the town. I thought you guys did a very good job on that. And let me be the first to congratulate you on the transparency and what is happening on that. Anyway, you did mention volunteers and vitality. And just before I get in the presentation, at the meeting Councillor McCordoff and I were at, there were 3 people new to town, and they were saying, we want choice, we want, and we want. And when you hear about that, when you get into a small town, as well, realize people coming here should really investigate, because we really don't have the choice that you're going to get in a bigger center, nor can we afford that choice that we have in a bigger center. And the other thing is how volunteers make a big thing in our community. And you know, we just saw this firsthand this weekend with a whole bunch of people volunteering at the races, including one of our counselors here. And if we go right now today, we'll go by the Pioneer Walkway, and there's a group out there, and they're volunteers. That's why we look good. So anyway, after this meeting came up and there was a possibility we could lose our daycare, I've gone out and asked some questions. So now let me play the 8.5-minute video, and then surprisingly, I have more to add.
Thank you.
Seems the Penticton and District Resource Center wants to come in and grab the money. The only reason for coming down here, and I'm going to prove that beyond the shadow of the doubt. Right now, let's find out how it all got started. Well, there was a need for daycare in Osoyoos, and in 1995, the town with local support approached the school board about locating in the Osoyoos Elementary School. However, it was turned down as daycare was not in their mandate at that time. So the town of Osoyoos came up with land, and with a whole bunch of volunteerism, the daycare building was opened in 1997. The town did not want to operate it, nor have it cost the taxpayers money. Hence, the daycare board was formed and agreed to fundraise to cover expenses. Now, this has worked extremely well. And at a conference on small town vitality, Osoyoos became the role model for having a daycare run by parents and volunteers right beside the school. And those who volunteers when their kids are preschool age, they're the ones that continue and volunteer for minor hockey, soccer, figure skating, and for other community and church events. If the moms can't be with their kids all the time, they have the next best thing by being on the local board to ensure that their children are looked after in the best possible way. 4 years ago, the Penticton and District Community Resource Center advertised for preschoolers as they were starting to operate out of the Osoyoos Elementary School. When the town of Osoyoos Daycare heard about it, School District 53 Assistant Superintendent Jim Inslee said that they advertised the tender on the School District 53 website. Now, of course, with no knowledge of this taking place, the town of Osoyoos had bypassed totally in the arrangement. Assistant Superintendent Inslee said it was already a done deal when asked by Osoyoos Daycare Manager Cheryl Smith. At that time, our daycare had 30 preschoolers, but once Penticton and District Resource Center opened in the school, the preschoolers' attendance dropped at our daycare, and the Osoyoos Daycare had to lay off 2 workers. At the same time, the economy took a dip locally. The watermark was completed in 2009, and shortly afterwards, few of the younger families had to leave town as this construction era was over. That prompted the school board to show some concern regarding the future of Osoyoos Secondary School in November 2010. Now that slowdown has hit Penticton most seriously right now, as tourism was down 40% last year, real estate sales have slowed to a crawl, there is no construction, and families are leaving, meaning less clients for the Penticton and District Resource Center. At a meeting May 28th of the Osoyoos Elementary School, Jim Inslee stated that there is federal money earmarked to be spent to cover costs of getting daycare into empty spaces in our schools. Therefore, Penticton and District Resource Center is making the application, and he said they're coming to Osoyoos whether it's in the school or not. At the end of an hour-long meeting, I asked if we could do this ourselves, as every preschool program has the same rules and regulations. After some hesitation, the assistant superintendent said, "I guess so." Jim Inslee talked to Diane Ball, who provides the licensed daycare service. She told him this move could put her out of business. He did not consult with the town of Osoyoos daycare group, only informing them of the meeting without much notice. Now, this was the second case of Assistant Superintendent Jim Inslee bypassing the town of Osoyoos and bringing in Penticton and District Resource Center with absolutely no qualms at all about what would happen locally. School trustee and chairperson Marie Zatar even mentioned in her opening address that this application could possibly spell the end of the town of Osoyoos daycare, and with it an investment of over $250,000. I remind everyone again, the town of Osoyoos asked for the space in 1995, were refused. It put us through a lot, but we are a better community for it. Daycare manager Cheryl Smith, since the new licensing officer has been in charge about a year, Osoyoos Daycare had to install plumbing, but not at the daycare at Tuckalnewit, operated by Penticton and District Resource Center. Cheryl Smith says they have not had these problems until recently, and Ms. Smith says the licensing officer now makes things up, quote, on the spot. The final blow comes, though, as we learn that this licensing officer worked for years out of the Penticton and District Resource Center before moving to the licensing division last year. And in all the previous 16 years, there was never any hassle from this regulatory body before. Well, the town of Osoyoos has had an outstanding relationship with the daycares. They've raised their own funds, looked after their operation, put on events, and an investment by the town of Osoyoos. And the town does not abandon its volunteers. I stated at the May 28th meeting that the Penticton and District Resource Center was coming down because they were only after the money, and here is the proof. The Penticton and District Resource Center has operated this preschool now for 4 years out of the Osoyoos Elementary School. Yet, not one day has an Osoyoos person been employed there, and they have only had one field trip in that time to Caribbeas. However, we lost 2 local employees because of this. On top of that, the Penticton and District Resource Center charges more than the Osoyoos preschool, and all that money for the past 4 years has gone out of Osoyoos. Well, why wouldn't the Penticton and District Resource Center say they are coming to Osoyoos? Let's look at it realistically. They have the Assistant Superintendent of School District 53, Jim Inslee, leading the way, eliminating the opposition by deliberately not consulting with the town of Osoyoos Daycare Society, and they also have the daycare licensing officer in their hip pocket. Kind of like the Jimmy Hoffa era of daycare. We're coming to take it over and control it all. Now, this action could put another 5 full-time and 3 part-time local Osoyoos jobs in jeopardy, and all that money heading north to Penticton. This is certainly not going to impress the Osoyoos business area. You're going to ask, how much more money does Osoyoos want to lose to Penticton? The Osoyoos Town Council should call for an official investigation, as I don't think the Minister of Education supports this type of action that leads to local job loss to outsiders, especially when every licensed infant, toddler, preschool, all daycare activity falling under the same rules and regulations regardless of where or who operates the facilities, whether it's operated 70 kilometers north or 70 meters south of the Osoyoos Elementary School. Now, come September, The preschool should revert back to the town of Osuyu's daycare, seeing as the Penticton and District Resource Center is operating it in Osuyu's because of what appears to be a deceptive method used by the Assistant Superintendent for School District 53, and that allowed Penticton and District Resource Center to operate an inferior program. I agree with Mayor Stu Wells that we should go ahead with the improvements in the Osuyus Elementary School and be ready when economic conditions improve and more spaces are needed, and have it operated locally with our board consisting of mainly our parents looking after our kids for our community and our future. Penticton and District Resource Center is strictly about money. Looking after our kids should never have Penticton ahead of our own parents of the youngsters using the service. Now, I'm Tom Shields, former news director, and I was the mayor of the town when we first approached the school board. Real eye-opener, isn't it, folks? Thanks for watching.
Now let me, council, add the final one here, and this one is the big nail in the coffin. This is the one I think that will say not only should there be investigation, and not only a front page news story on the Times and up the Okanagan. This was probably going to bring in the Vancouver Province and the Sun and the TV cameras too. I have this emailed to me yesterday. It's from Diane Ball, manager of Di's Daycare. At the moment, I am in conversation with the current licensing officer superiors, as I am requesting to have the officer replaced. I am concerned with the false reporting and unfair assessment of my daycare facility. I am extremely dissatisfied with the poor level of service I have received from the current licensing officer, whose inspections are based on lies and fabrication used to falsely downgrade my safety levels. I have requested that another officer come and reevaluate the daycare and adjust the untrue statements made on this report. My daycare is not full at the moment, and I have no waiting list. I fear the opening of another daycare in Osuyus will result in me closing the doors to my business. So the numbers go from 10 to 2 more private ones that could lose. That's 12 in town. And these funds, of which our daycare, for the person who uses it the longest, $600 a month and down, apparently Penticton charges more, and that would all be gone away, and it would literally tens of thousands of dollars per week taken out of our economy. And that's why I think, folks, if you go after it and stop this, everybody's going to be thankful for you, and I'll be behind you 100%. Those are all facts, not made up, folks. Any questions? The questions really now would have to go back to the other people, because I've talked to them, but I could answer anything, but that's it.
If you could just stand by for a moment, Mr. Shields. I think there might be some immediate questions from council. My comment on this, because Mr. Shields and I have talked about this since it first sort of came to light. I think it needs immediate action. We're talking September, school shut down, people don't work. So I think there's a crucial and critical time frame out there for council to come to a decision, and I don't think we can be looking at reports and that. It's really not our ballywick anyway. But I think we have to make some decisions here moving forward. Having said that, I'm going to Councillor McCordoff. Question, please.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things, and I was at the same meeting with you, Mr. Shields. The room that is now available in the Osuyus Elementary School has been, there's 2 rooms downstairs, and they've been used for various things as far as I've been retired for a while, but I know that they've been used for various things. If that room was to be used for something, and I don't know specifically who it would be, there are federal funds available to upgrade it. My assumption is for whoever moves in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other thing is, you did point out that in the mid-90s that you wanted to put a daycare in the school. At that time, I was teaching there, my thinking is that every room was full. It's since then that, you know, the population has gone down a bit, and that's what has made rooms available. So I don't think there were any then. There probably wasn't the same program then either available. The one thing that that Mrs. Tarr said was that she felt that this group from Penticton was going to come down here no matter where. Now, that would be, if they wanted to come down here, I suppose they could set up in a church basement, which was one of the options, I think. If people wanted to pay more money to go there, that's their choice, right? We did hear that. There were choices. That being said, I think we need to do everything to support the daycare that is there, because they're doing a terrific job, and they've proven over the last almost 20 years that they can do it. So I just think we should probably get Mr. Inslee maybe and Mrs. Tarr and perhaps talk to them, because we may have some questions for them.
Thank you for the input. I think that's a good idea.
One thing, if I could, Mr. Mayor, to add, apparently the Penticton group has already advertised for workers in our local newspaper. So it's a movable thing that I think requires, as you say, some immediate concern.
Instant action. Councillor Rose, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Shields, well, thank you very much. I just absolutely feel the engagement from yourself, and you know, I'm so proud of any residents that come forward with these things. So once again, thank you very much. Any circumstance that causes unemployment in our community gets me riled up in a big hurry. We had previously received some correspondence about this. I seen your YouTube presentation over the weekend. Just by coincidence, I happened to stumble on it, so I seen that. You must have posted it late last week or something. And
I did.
And I sat around and I thought, you know, this is just wrong, you know, and I'm a little conflicted because I don't know what to do, and I could use your guidance and maybe a quick dissertation. I have a keen desire to do something. I just don't know exactly what that is, because we rely so much on reports, and these spontaneous things that you have to jump into right away sometimes are a little bit of a weakness for us. How can we help? What can we do immediately? You know, practical stuff, you know, real world stuff, you know?
Practically, probably because it's really messing around with our economy. And I think we pointed out that as when people start in a daycare and they volunteer for their kids, they're the ones that follow through life with the soccer, at the church, and they do our cherry fiestas. And even our own board, I mean, they're out doing the barbecue beefs, and Councillor McCardoff knows everybody who's involved, whether you're selling beef or throwing darts at balloons, all makes our thing successful. And they've been doing this for years. We've been watching them throw ducks down the river. I think it's serious enough that the Ministry of Education should come in and take a look at this, because when I really took a look at that meeting that Councillor McCartoff and I were at, and truthfully I saw both school trustee Harrington and school trustee Teresa Starr looked to me like they didn't want to be there. And this whole thing was just... So I just think that this has been going on for 4 years. And by the way, if they go back and check with the daycare manager, Charles Smith, apparently they tried to put in an after-day program a few years back, which didn't succeed. But once again, we were all bypassed. And I think that has got to stop. We've got to keep daycare locally. What I found particularly insulting, and I will say it to the camera, and I'll say it to everybody, when I find that they come up, and we've been doing this for 16 years, and all of a sudden there's an attack on all of us here just so they can get a license. What that is to me is an insult to all the parents here who have been looking after our kids for years. That they in Penticton can do it better? Give me a break, folks. And that's where I think it's got to be picked up and made something so this does not happen again. Jobs stay locally. You guys are on the right track. You're out walking. You're trying to get the economy going. We don't need people from Penticton coming in and tearing it down. That's the way I feel. Now you got my passion running. Thank you.
We're not quite done yet, Mr. Shields. That was a wonderful pitch. And that may, and I'm looking at how we're going to react on this in a timely fashion. And maybe it's the headline in the Osoyoos Times when it comes out on Wednesday. Maybe that will send the impact and the message to whoever we're targeting that to be. The existing Osoyoos childcare, how many student capacity?
I don't have that exact figure. Cheryl Smith has that people can get it. From what I understand, that we have everybody in town, there's never been a real lack of space.
Right.
There's been a lack of choice. But again, in small communities, we have a lack of choice in a lot of things, as we mentioned. So that's where we're coming from. And Mayor Stu, you and I talked about this, and it's fair to say that if the federal government's got money to do something, how often does the feds come in and say, hey, here's some money, do something with it? We should be grabbing it. We should put in what's required. And if the need arises, we have the people here locally situated 70 meters south who have the local people who can move in. If there's 4 people or 4 spaces, then someone can go in. They don't have to go to Penticton, but it should be local. It's our kids.
It's our community, it's our kids,
and our
right
future.
on the money. Yeah, no. I don't think you have to worry about this council not having that homeboy approach. This is maybe homegirl approach too, but I think that we should be moving this forward. It's going to be a little touchy and it's going to be stepping on a few toes, but I think it's a big enough issue that we should have some of those answers. Some of the complaints about the inspection officer, I think they should be pursued. And I know that, so we have the Osoyoos Childcare, then we have a couple of independents such as Diane Ball. There's a couple of those.
Yes, there's another lady I haven't talked to,
right.
but what comes back secondhand to me is she has the same concern.
Tammy Foster.
Okay.
The daycare, from what I wrote down, has 55 in the Osoyoos Childcare at the moment.
Okay.
That's the number I wrote down, and I'm sure it was from that meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the capacity would even be more then.
But why couldn't they use the basement at the school as well? Because they have several different programs to run, and they could, I'm sure, use that space for something else. Because if you have babies, and apparently the lady they had set up to do babies had to move from town because of family problems. So they don't have them in there now,
I believe
or
that's
do
being
they now?
rectified.
Okay. I get confused, but there are several different programs that are run, and they need different spaces, right? So they may be able to use what they've got, plus this room in the school, and it would make sense to me anyway that they manage them both.
It certainly, and done locally, yes, of course. So when it's there, if it's needed, if it's not, well, no help, no harm done. We just don't have anybody working there that day.
No, that's we'll get something going here. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Bear. Mr. Shields, thanks very much for this. Just 2 questions. Where was it here? The inspector. Does that inspection come out of Interior Health?
It comes out of Penticton licensing, but the key here is that person who's inspecting was previously employed for numerous years right out of the Penticton Resource Center. So they just went, and as soon as that person went in to the licensing, apparently that's when the havoc started here.
Yes, no, I appreciate that.
I don't know the name or what umbrella it's under.
Okay, all right, good. I think that's, no, I appreciated what you said about the fact that he had been a previous employee. Now, you mentioned Chairperson Tarr and her comment that, would probably spell the end of daycare in Osoyoos. What was the occasion or the context in which you were talking? Because it seems a strange thing that you would say. And clearly the board would have to decide that they are going to put out this request for for proposal or for tender for daycare or to rent out a portion of the school. Could you elaborate a little more on the context in which that comment was made?
I get what happened at the meeting. We had the preamble put forward by Mr. Inslee, and Mr. Inslee did the preamble that there's money for the feds to put in the school, and the preamble that Penticton, the resource center, is coming down, and oh, by the way, if they don't get the school, they're coming anyway. Then Chairperson Tarr made the statement that this, at that time, she made the statement that this could possibly spell the end of the daycare thing. And the reason why, folks, is there's a lot of parents out there, if something's in the school, they just automatically think it must be better. And yet, I think if you got and took a look at our appreciation day a couple of weeks ago that they had, there was a couple of hundred people there. And they were, it was going quite well, so that's why I find that,
Yeah.
I can't, but I mean, why they would allow it to go, that's the part that amazes me. What happened the first time 4 years ago that nobody seems to know about, but all of a sudden, someone's in taking our jobs and taking our money and teaching our kids, but not us. And it's just progressed down the tracks here it's out of control. But why the school board allowed it to go on, that's why I really think it's time to go up above to the ministry, because the answers maybe should have been asked a while back, and I don't know whether the school board even knew this was going on, but it certainly is a muddled situation.
Thank you. And I don't know that we need to go up to the ministry level. We may, but I think it's only fair that we talk at the board level. And I think we need a meeting with the super, Mr. Inslee, the assistant super. They may not want him there. That's up to them. I can handle them either present or not. But we should ask the open and frank questions so that we're informed on a decision-making process. And so may I suggest that the message we forward to our administrative staff is to set up a meeting with the people that are available. We don't have to go through the summertime. Well, this person can't. If we can make it with the key personnel, which would be the superintendent, our CAO, the counselors that are available, and let's get something going within a week. We want to talk. I think we need to know the answers before we sort of run off, if I may, being half-cocked. So let's get the data. Let's find out what we're dealing with, and make some informed decisions. Councilor McWhirtle.
Could I just add that I think that Mrs. Tarr and Mrs. Harrington are the two local school board representatives, and I think that they should be included as well, because they're voted by the town of Vesuvius.
Sure. Thank you. And I can't make a motion, so I need that motion made by Councilor McWhirtle. And that seconder, Councilor Ryan. And discussion. That's good?
Good.
Mr. Romanko.
This council feels sufficiently informed that in terms of the situation that maybe you'd like to meet with the child care center first to find out kind of, what is the impact options, and maybe they've got some suggestions that will help provide some background to that meeting as well.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, and I would certainly I think we would be happy to add that to our joint resolution.
Okay, so that resolution would be for all the board people, school board people, superintendent, and another part of that same motion would be meeting with Vesuvius Child Care.
And I think that would take priority in terms of sequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And councilors, I mean, I know it's availability and all that sort of stuff. There may be a request. Councilor Rhodes may want it as late in the day as he can because of his business interests. I know he'd like to be there. If we can, whoever's available will be available, but we can't wait for everybody and both sides of the table to sit down because we don't have that time frame. Mr. Shields, anything further?
No, I was just going to wait, and then if you vote with the all hands in the air, I was going to say thank you. You probably put a lot of minds of people at ease, and I'm glad to see you starting out on correcting the situation.
Good. Thank you very much. Counselor, everyone fine? We need an all in favor on that motion? All in favor, opposed? That's carried. That works for Mr. Romanko, Ms. Van Vienen, we got, great. Okay, so the Sailing Club late item comes up in business 4. We're there. We are now hardly through the agenda. Water accounts in the amount of $47,436.67 for approval. Councilor Morera Laranjo, any discussion? All in favor? We will pay those bills. Correspondence from the Desert Center, Waterwise Urban Green Space Program. Council's wishes on the correspondence, please. Councilor Rhodes?
Thank you. Motion to receive.
Okay, and seconder, Councilor Ryan. Any discussion on that? Just, I had one nice little sidebar on that from Denise when she delivered the early morning cookies. The Desert Center folks were absolutely thrilled when they did that video that came down. Those folks from Kelowna that came down, and they did one at the museum and one at the Desert Center. It's Google Earth, and where you walk into the virtual tours. And I saw the one for the museum. I haven't seen the one for the Desert Center, but she was just thrilled that it was that good, and thought it would do a lot to attract people to take that next step and go and see it in person. Anyway, so that motion to receive, all in favor? Oh.
I think within I didn't cover this with a report because there's a specific ask in here, maybe not a specific one. It's relative to whether there's acceptance of that particular project.
Right.
So we can work through all the specific guidelines and requirements, but I think what the Desert Society was looking for is council's acceptance of them doing work on that triangle and setting this project up.
Sorry, I was a little bit hasty on that. And while to receive it is nice, I think I'm going to have to read it on a day when we're full house. But there's a lot there. So this is from the Osceola Desert Center to Mr. Barry Romanko, CAO, and this is from Denise Eastlick, their Executive Director. We appreciate you meeting with us regarding the Desert Society's Waterwise Urban Green Space Project. As discussed, the Desert Society has a $5,000 grant from Royal Bank Canada RBC Blue Water Project and would like to partner with the town of Osceola to create a waterwise landscape on a municipal property. After reviewing the attached list of potential town sites, we think the first site listed, the triangle at the intersection of 89th and Kingfisher, would be the best option for the project. There's a photo attached. Funds from the RBC grant would cover the cost of creating a landscape design and planting a variety of drought-tolerant plants, predominantly native species. Funds would also cover most of the materials, gravel, rocks, mulch, etc., and labor for the project. Some support from the town may be requested during the course of the project, such as assistance moving boulders or transporting gravel/mulch. Grant funds also include an educational sign to highlight the importance of water conservation and the benefits of xeriscaping. Text for the sign would be submitted to the town for approval, and sign fabrication and placement would be done in compliance with the town's sign bylaws. In terms of timeline, the best time to do the planting would be in the early fall. A design plan would need to be completed and approved by the town prior to the start of the project. Please let us know if you would like us to proceed to the design phase for the proposed site. Before starting a design, we will also need to know if there are any specific guidelines or requirements for the project. That is, sight lines, pathways, height limits on plantings, etc. Thank you for your support of the project. We are looking forward to partnering with the town to create an attractive waterwise urban landscape. Sincerely, Denise Eastlick. Councilor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't want to make it sound like I was being hasty with my motion there. I just assumed that we would be receiving a report at some future date on that dynamic. But certainly, I would certainly entertain a rewording of that very, very simple resolution that I put forward a little while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that rewording would be to send a letter of approval.
Yes.
And the seconder, Councillor Ryan. I guess just the one caution, because of the intensity of the ground structures in that area, we sure would want to make sure that, you know, that's all our sewers and pump lifts and stations and water lines. There's an awful lot of in-ground activity in that area. We sure would want to have that all scoped out before going too far down that. Councillor McCordoff?
Yeah, thank you. I was about to say the same thing. Are we not redoing some of that area in terms of pumps and water? No, it's not just off to the side. I know it's just the triangle, but I thought there could be parts that would be dug up and changed, and if they were to do this, and the splash park too, which goes in there, I know it's beside, I would just be a little careful that whatever was decided by these guys did not get put in before we had the rest of it
We
finished.
will be working
You'll
with
do it.
Public Works to ensure that it's done in a scoped out fashion. The list was provided by Public Works in terms of what was their kind of their areas of priority planting, and certainly we'll be working internally to ensure that, you know, it's done right.
And it will ensure that we don't have tire marks and cars driving over that spot again. I hope. Not with cactuses there.
They only drive over it at municipal election time.
Right.
Any further input? All in favor? Thank you. That is passed. Next item of business is the MTI bylaw 127906. Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. Council gave 3 readings to the MTI Amendment Bylaw 127906 on June 3rd, 2013. This bylaw amends the fine schedule for off-street parking, public parking regulation amendment bylaw number 127402 to reflect the changes to the boat trailer permit process, and change for fines for sewer connection bylaw number 1299-2013 to reflect the bylaw number and section number changes. It also amends Schedule 1 of the MTI bylaw, which designates the bylaws that are enforceable under it and sets out those authorized to issue the tickets. It is being amended to reflect the new sewer connection bylaw 1299, previously bylaw number 754. Implications under the community: gives us the ability to enforce the town bylaws by way of ticketing. Organizationally, enforcement time for staff. There's no budget impact. Sustainability, enforcement of the regulations under the off-street parking regulation bylaw and the sewer connection bylaw. And the options being presented to council is that municipal ticket information amendment bylaw number 127906-2013 be amended, or that it be sent back to staff for further review and changes, or that it be abandoned, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councilor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. I would recommend option 1, that municipal ticket information amendment bylaw number 1279.06, 2013 be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Ryan. Any discussion on that? Heading for adoption. All in favor? Opposed? That has been carried. Next item up, always exciting. So far looking like good news, and a report on our splash park installation from Director Gerald Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the May 21st meeting of council, staff presented a timeline to have the splash park in place this summer. This timeline is progressing well, and we are on track to have the park operational as council requested. One of the outstanding items is the fundraising for the park itself. We are currently short of our installation price. In order to move forward without any other possible delays, we need to have the funds in place. Our current available funds are approximately $25,000. Our installation cost for phase 1 is estimated at $112,800, making us $87,800 short. In order to move forward, funding needs to be secured. Council can approve a budget amendment by deferring or deleting some 2013 capital projects, make a financial plan amendment, and utilize funds from a prior surplus, or wait until donations are collected and defer the project. A project council may consider for deferring so the splash park construction may proceed is the Nighthawk Road, developer driven, which is $119,000. The developer was contacted, and the earliest that the developer would be bringing forward a building permit application would be October of 2013. This project would not proceed until the development was nearing completion and could be deferred until 2014. In terms of implications for the community, we can stay on track without any further delays, so the community has an opportunity to enjoy the splash park this summer. In terms of organizational, having a clear direction to move forward would be beneficial to keep staff to keep the project on track, for staff to keep the project on track. We can utilize prior surplus funds to accommodate our timeline in the short term, with the expectations that the funds will be replenished at a later time. In terms of our significant dates, we've listed August the 1st or sooner as our anticipated goal to open. And the options before council are as follows. Number one, for council to make a budget amendment by deferring the Nighthawk Road reconstruction project and utilize $87,800 of those funds for the splash park. Number two, for council to approve a financial plan amendment using an additional $87,800 from prior year's surplus to cover the installation costs of phase one for the splash park. Option number three, for council to delay the project until the fundraising dollars are in place. And option number four, for council to do nothing at this time. And the recommendation is for option number one.
Thanks, Mr. Davis. And as we're looking at this report, in your report you mentioned completion of August the 1st or sooner. I think the Osoyoos Town Council was on the or sooner team. Council, please. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I'd just like to ask a question, and that is, I mean, we anticipated that this might happen, but I was just wondering if Mr. Davis could give us an update on the progress of fundraising and the strategies and actions that are planned going forward.
Well, for phase one right now, we are where we are, although last week we had some funding secured from private donors and some from other businesses. Right now, the dollars that we are short for phase one is what we actually have in our report. We did make an adjustment on our sign outside because we did secure some of those extra funds. And I'm not sure if they're actually cash in hand or they were just going to come at a later time. And basically that's where we are right now.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'd like to make a motion based on the wording in option number one.
Thank you. And that seconder, Councillor McCordoff. Any further? Councillor Rhodes speaking to it, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we have Mr. Zacco in the room here right now, I'm wondering if I could impose on him to offer a comment if he has any concerns or opinions on this process. As Councillor Ryan mentioned, we did have some preliminary information on this, and I was okay with it at the time, but I always like to hear if there's any thing that we should be aware of or know about or any long-term consequences that might come out of this as well.
Well, thank you for the question, Councillor Rhodes. One of the most important things is when budgets are created and made, they're made with council's endorsement and council's input and direction from the community. Council made a very strong decision of wanting to ensure that the splash park is up and running as soon as possible. This community has always been very, very great for fundraising activities, people coming forward and supporting causes and things of that nature, and have done a very good job. But because of the tight timeline, Director Davis is stuck in a hard place to be able to proceed without the funding, what I call secured. So basically knowing that we can cut a check and it's not being allocated for something else. That's why we had contacted Development Services to find out about the certain project, which will not start until 2014. So it gives council that ability to move this project forward, while we're still trying to raise the funds. The goal, from what Gerald has said, is we're still trying to raise as much funds as we can for the splash park. Just because council's putting the money up front to get it going sooner than later is not a bad thing.
Anything further? Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, just to clarify, do we have to go through some other motions to affect this and change the 5-year plan and our current budget and that sort of thing?
How this works is if council does a budget amendment where it doesn't affect the bottom line or the line items in the 5-year financial plan, which this in case it's not affecting it because you're reducing one capital project and you're increasing the funding from the other capital project. So there's zero effect to it. So council can have this move forward as quickly as doing a resolution for a budget amendment. If council was to ascertain utilizing prior year surpluses or other sources of revenues, we would have to do it through a financial plan amendment, which would mean bringing an amending bylaw forward, giving first 3 readings, posting in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks, and then bring it to adoption. So there's quite a delay to do the financial plan amendment.
So we're just changing priorities then?
That is correct.
Right. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
And so we're good with the resolution we have? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I'd just like to mention to the folks that live here, if you were thinking of contributing, I know I was a little late myself. Martha and I just made a personal contribution last week. And I know that there's some people from out of town that I know there's a business that is going to make a contribution. So if you're sort of sitting there thinking, yeah, I've been thinking about doing that, now's the time, make your contribution, do it right at front counter, Suya's Town Hall, walk in, they'll take your check, they'll give you a receipt. This is tax deductible, folks. So be a hero and save money on your income taxes at the same time. Secondly, there are still the $50 raffle tickets available at merchants around town. If $50 suits your fancy, go buy a raffle ticket. I believe R&R Rentals is one of the outlets. CJ probably has too many books of them that he's trying to sell anyway. So if you're interested in a ticket, go pick up a $50 ticket. I know first prize is a $5,000 travel voucher. So you'd be able to leave town for a holiday. So. Anyway, that's the Splash Park wrap up if anyone's looking at any further contributions. Thank you. And the next item up is additional policing costs, an agreement with the province, and this is a report from Director of Corporate Services. This sort of got a good little hook on it.
It does. And it's nice and short, too.
Right, okay.
So Council allocated $10,000 in the 2013 budget for additional RCMP costs for seasonal policing at the town parks, beaches, and lakes. The province requires that town enter into an agreement for these additional costs. The town will be invoiced at the 70%, this is the good news part, 70% provincial cost share, which means that in total, the town will get up to a maximum of $14,285.71 in additional police services, but that will be a maximum of $10,000 to the town. The attached letter of agreement is being presented to Council for approval. Implications for the community, it gives additional police enforcement in the town parks, beaches, and on the lake. Organizationally, there's minimal staff time. Budget, $10,000. There's no significant dates, although we'd like to get this approved so we can get that additional RCMP in place. And sustainability, ensuring the safety and enjoyment of town parks, beaches, and lakes. The options being presented are that the mayor and CAO be authorized to sign the attached letter of agreement, or that the town not enter into the agreement, and staff recommend option number 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor Rose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion based on option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor McCordoff, seconder. Any discussion on that, Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of it. I'm just curious about the actual procedure. Do we pay the police first and then we get money back?
No, it's just a credit. They actually send a bill, and last year we authorized the 10 and spent 6 or 4 or didn't spend a lot.
No, we didn't spend the entire amount.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they still send out the bill, and it just increases our line of credit. I guess you might call it.
Okay, so we don't pay until we actually get the bill
That's
from
right,
the province.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and this is just one of the best things this council's done as far as our whole public approach in the beaches in the summertime, and that is it's very, very effective. You just see a change of attitude everywhere now. People have a different attitude about being in Osoyoos and falling within the guidelines of our bylaws, and that it's a wonderful thing. So, anything further? All in favor? Thank you. Passed. Acting mayor appointments. This is really just a bookkeeping issue. But it's a legislative requirement. Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. That's right. It is legislated that if we do make a acting mayor change, that we have to have a resolution. Council did make those appointments at the December 2012 meeting for 2013 year. However, Councillor McCordoff has advised that she will not be available in September to take on the acting mayor role. Councillor Rhodes has agreed to switch his acting mayor schedule from August to September, with Councillor McCordoff taking on the August time slot. A resolution is required, and that resolution should be that Councillor McCordoff be appointed as acting mayor for the month of August 2013, and that Councillor Rhodes be appointed as acting mayor for the month of September 2013.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Ryan making that motion.
I will so move.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? They have been switched.
Thank you.
Sailing Club Land Exchange. A report from Mr. Romanko, please. This is the item we brought forward from the Committee of the Whole meeting this morning. Just going to finalize it here.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. For background, lands were needed from the Sailing Club lease area to facilitate the development of the marina. The attached motion was passed by Council at its April 2nd, 2012 meeting and taken out of camera on June 17th, 2013. And I don't think I need to read that motion again. It's a matter of record from earlier in the meeting. The attached letter of understanding outlines the area of exchange and the terms and conditions. The Sailing Club has agreed to the terms and conditions of the attached agreement. Prior to Council approving this land exchange letter of understanding, the public must be notified, must be provided notice of intent for the disposition of lands. This public notice consists of 2 notifications in the press. In terms of implications, the community benefits from the land exchange because the land exchange facilitates better access for both drop-off, budget, the cost to, there's no cost to the land exchange options. Pass a motion to direct staff to place an advertisement for a 2-week period in the Osoyoos Times notifying the public of Council's intention to carry out the land exchange as identified in the letter of understanding provided in this report. And the second option presented is pass a motion notifying the Sailing Club that Council no longer has interest in the land exchange as identified in the letter of understanding provided in this report. And administration recommends option number 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor Ryan.
I would move the option 1 as recommended.
And a seconder, please. Councillor Rhodes. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All in favor. Opposed. That is carried. That's the end of the business section. Any notice of motion coming forward from the councillors? No. Into reports. Some financial reports in the General Sun Bowl Arena and payroll accounts. General and Sun Bowl cash requirements to June 17th, representing balances in the following funds, amount to the general account of $169,257.83. In the Sun Bowl Arena account in the amount of $6,034.01, and payroll accounts received for information in the amount of $136,267.54. Any input onto those figures or accounts, they will be adopted by consensus. Going into the building permit report for the month of May, there was a grand total of $648,000. One item there alone being $500,000. It would appear to be for some structural repairs on 62nd Avenue. So that brought the total to 648. Total to date for 2013, 1,000,006. Total to date for 2012, 2,000,009. About 1,000,003 behind last year, and last year was no great show. So we still haven't got any of our construction going to where the planners and the councillors would like to see that. The next would be committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I didn't see anything listed. Anybody reporting out anything? That's fine. CAO report, Mr. Remenko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Let's start in the corporate services area first, some of the activities that we've been involved in the last couple of weeks. First, let me start by congratulating our Director of Corporate Services, Jeanette Van Yenen, for receiving her 30-year pin in recognition of municipal service and from the Local Government Administrators Association. So that's congratulations, Jeanette.
Great.
In terms of corporate services, they've been sending out the annual reports to all the property owners, both by mail and through the Times. The garbage calendars have been sent out this week. They've been busy helping with tax collection at the counter, and unsightlies are becoming very time-consuming. There are many repeat offenders, and this is taking a lot of staff time, but we're making some progress on some major ones, so we're pretty happy about that. In terms of community services, some upcoming events include the high school Storm the Wall, the horse races at Desert Park, the Relay for Life at Gyro, the Soisa Cup at Desert Park. This is a big thing for us in terms of hosting the big soccer tournament, and of course there's Cherry Festival coming very quickly around the corner. The slow pitch season ended with finals on Sunday. Congratulations to Bylaw, who prevailed in the championship game. The shutdown at the Sun Bowl Arena has been progressing well, and we are preparing to install the ice starting in July. And in terms of the summer ice program, the Audrey Bakewell and Ringette camps continue to have registrations coming in, with one of the Audrey Bakewell sessions now a sellout. And our beach volleyball starts on June 12th. Finance, 75% of the rural water collected and processed, and 25% of property taxes have been collected. Also, the Osoyoos Indian Band has paid their $25,360 financial commitment with respect to the transfer of jurisdiction agreement, which was signed by Town Council and the Osoyoos Indian Band in January of 2011. The Planning Department helped out with the grand opening of our new electric car charging station at Gyro Park. Public Works started working on changing the parking lines at Lions Park from the angle parking to setting up a parallel parking situation. And they're busy replacing services in the alley between 87th and 85th off Main Street, so that we can get the paving done on that as quickly as possible. And in terms of some of my activities, met with the Ministry of Transport to sign the contract for installing the countdown signal. Also discussed Cottonwood Drive, the need to move our signals there so that they meet handicapped accessibility standards, and also had a brief discussion on the bridge widening, which we still haven't got the plans for, but they still intend to build and do before the end of their fiscal year this year. The annual report also was done. Attended the Economic Tourism Delivery Workshop, did some work on the airport expansion project, did the final touches on the sewer capacity study terms of reference, so that should be going out probably in the next couple of weeks to tender a request for a proposal, and debriefing of the gas line incident, and also putting together the results of the business walkabout council's project there. So that's my report.
Great, thanks, Mr. Remenko. I just have a question on that, and I know it's just so dead obvious, but the Department of Highways, they would understand that we have a moratorium on construction from the 1st of June till the end of September?
It's not going to happen in September. No.
Okay.
You know, I would think it's a later fall project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is the obvious, but sometimes you get fooled by not paying attention to the obvious. So thanks for that. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I want to just begin by congratulating Carol Youngberg and all the people who were associated with the two big events, the fundraiser about a week ago, and then actually the race day. And it was just marvelous, and I'm sure that other members who were there will say more, especially the mayor, who had a nice message in the program. But just to say that they did a super job. It was just wonderful. It was just nice to be a part of history. I haven't been a part of too many things in history since I was born, but that was really a moment in history to bring back racing to Desert Park. And the next date is August the 31st, the last day of August, at 2 o'clock. So that was really a wonderful event. I had a very pleasant and a busy day, busy week, I should say, since our last meeting. And I went to represented the town at several events, and they were both very feel-good events. First was a fundraiser for the search and rescue group, and this is Oliver Asuyas rescue, search and rescue, and these are the people that go out, into the snow and into the swift water and to mountaintops and so on to rescue you when you get into trouble. And they were looking for a place to meet and a place to train and so on, and they had, I guess, cobbled together some modest funds and put in a bid on a trailer that was used for the construction of the new high school in Oliver. And at the meeting, or at the event rather, where they were not only raising some funds, but they also heard that they were successful in their bid for a trailer, and they got the cream of the crop. They got the administration trailer from the job site in Oliver. So that's really good news. I was also able to go to represent council and the mayor at a Miss Southern BC, Teen Southern BC, and in this case, it turned out that Shelby LePage is on her way to Toronto in the middle of July, and she's vying for the title of Miss Teen Canada World. And so that was a wonderful evening. She's been working for about 4 years now at the Desert Center there, at the Cultural Center. And so it was an evening filled with the culture of our First Nation neighbors, and just a wonderful evening. And so I pledged our support to her, and that was well nicely attended, and I think a good time was had by all. We had our annual meeting today, of course, and it was nice to see more people than we usually have. And included in that, of course, was the ambassadorial candidate, Lauren Sherwood, who is a part of our royalty, and we'll probably hear more about that from Councillor McCortoff, because we're coming up to a big anniversary for the royalty, and it's nice to meet them. And even supporting Shelby were our three current members of royalty there in the front row, supporting her in her bid. The other thing I want to mention is something that is on the town's website, and if you go to our asuyas.ca website and go on the left side, there's something called the Community Foundations Survey, Vital Signs Survey, and it's something that I want to encourage everyone to take the time to take. I guess you have to have a computer, but you can always go to the library and use a computer there, and they'll even sort of help you find it. And then once you get there, it's very simple. You can just click the little mouse on the appropriate answers. But it's basically from the Community Foundation of the South Okanagan, which is trying to increase foundation giving and to perhaps start foundations in other communities besides Penticton, where they are based, even though they do serve the whole South Okanagan. And so they're asking you to comment on your community under a number of various headings about belonging, the environment, health, the environment and so on, the gap between rich and poor, housing, all those kinds of things. And it's very easy, you just sort of decide where you think your community stands on these various issues. So please take the time to take that. It's called the Vital Signs Survey, and you put in that you're from Osoyoos, and then it'll bring up the appropriate questions for you. And the last thing I want to mention is we had a nice I just hold this up and see if anybody out there can recognize this apple. We had the people from the BC fruit growers today, and I've taken the label off, so if you have good eyesight, you can't see the label. But we had BC fruit growers talking about fruit growing in the Okanagan and some of the challenges and some of the issues and so on. And one of the big things, of course, is that they are finding that they lack institutional support. The hospitals, the schools, all kinds of groups like that haven't been buying local. So I bought this, well, I bought it locally. I bought it in Penticton at the growers co-op, but it's all the same. But anyway, if you can't find a BC apple in the stores, and you can sometimes, but other times you can't, you have to look and it says, Washington State or something. So you can always go out to the packing house and just get this beautiful fruit. And I like to go there because they have big apples there. They don't have these little guys that, you 2 bites and it's gone. They have the big ones. So I just want to encourage everybody to buy local, and especially to buy apples and to eat them. So if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have a nice chunk of this.
I thought you were going to maybe pass it around so you could guess. And at that point, I was going to take a big bite out of it.
Oh, and you would have guessed, too, no doubt, correctly. But I can still pass it around. There's plenty of room on there.
Thanks for your report. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you once again, Michael, for leading into that shopping local aspect. Although I did hear you say where you bought it from, but I know you have a mouthful of apple right now, and I won't challenge you on that just yet. Anyway, when we do these council reports, a lot of times you think that nobody's really listening to you, and I have a little bit of a comment about something that happened to me after the May 21st council meeting, where I reported on how unfavorable and I thought it was that oil companies boost up their prices just prior to long weekends, and I went into a multi-paragraph, worded dissertation on how unhappy I was about it. And I made a comment towards the end of it, and I just wanted to read that off, where I said, shame on you, Big Oil. Stop doing this and do your part to encourage folks to stay in our community, not discourage them. So anyway, you read this off and you go home, and on the Friday morning, very, very early in the morning, about 7:15, my telephone rang, and it had a 416 prefix on it, and a name that I recognized as having an outlet in our little community here. And I thought, well, this is pretty interesting, and I answered the phone very professionally, and there was a gentleman on the other end, the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet in the world, representing this, for lack of a better word, big oil company. And he was very polite, very knowledgeable. I got an extremely long lecture on the free enterprise system in Canada, and how oil prices are driven by supply and demand, and all stuff that I kind of knew about, but he felt very, very compelled to lecture me on it. He was not really concerned. He wanted to know if I was referring to his company, and I have no idea how he even came across this. I'm sure maybe Granicus helped out a little bit, or maybe somebody phoned him or told him about it. But anyway, he was really, really good. But at the end of the conversation, he asked me, now that I had all of this knowledge and this stuff, I do have to admit there was a little bit of debate that went on between, but not really anything that would affect the outcome of our conversation. And he was feeling very confident that he had driven his point home, and asked me flat out if I would comment at our next meeting on it. And I said, well, I don't think so, but we've had one meeting that's gone by, and now we're into another one, and I thought maybe I would just maybe I would like to comment it. So I have a couple of words that I would like to say about it, and I'm going to say, shame on you, Big Oil. Stop doing this and do your part to encourage folks to stay in our community, not discourage them. I believe that raising up those prices prior to long weekends drives people out of our community to shop elsewhere for cheaper gas, and that's just wrong. And I asked you, that mysterious caller, I have to say mysterious because I don't want to identify him. I know who he is. He'd be happy to talk to anybody about it. But, I'm really bugged about the whole thing. And if they stop doing that and one person stays in our community, buys their gas here and shops locally, then my words have not fallen on deaf ears.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
Just one more thing. Just on a personal note, I did have a death in my family a couple of weeks ago, and I always like to, somewhere in my reports, thank people, the town staff, my fellow councilors, the mayor, everybody kind of pitched in and bought me and my wife a nice, beautiful bouquet of flowers and a nice little card, and lots and lots and lots of good comments from people in the community. Friends, people I don't even know have come up and really stepped forward. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for their sentiments, and it certainly makes a tough time a lot better when people step forward and do those kind of things.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes, and that's the beauty of a small town. We were all with you through that bereavement process. So yeah, that's again that's that small town coming to light. Councillor McCordoff, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, the last 2 weeks have been pretty busy. It's a good thing I don't have a job. And so several things that I attended. One would be the Cactus Jalopies event, which was great. And as I was down there, I was going up and down the cars trying to locate convertibles, of course, for the parade. So I did manage to find a few people down there. At the same day, we had the electric car opening up at in the new parking lot, so that was good. Went to Grad on June the 8th, and that was a very nice event, and Councillor Ryan and Mayor Wells and I presented bursaries to 3 of the students there. I also spent a day up at the Okanagan Regional Library. I'm on the Personnel Committee, and we were talking about personnel. That's enough said on that one. On June the 15th, I attended the 50th anniversary opening of the museum, and it was a very nice event. And I wasn't able to stay for too long because I had to go up to horse racing after that and spend 5 hours giving people tickets to bet, and that was another issue. But the museum, I thought, was very well presented. Mr. Favorhold and Mr. Hassan made excellent presentations on the history of the museum and what the plans were, and I did talk to the architect after, and he was showing me some of the plans for the upgraded. So and I understand that Dr. Collins is taking on fundraising for that event. So there's another thing that you could donate to as well. Spent a day at on June the 10th at the Economic Development Tourism Workshop, and that was the most interesting event where there were people from Destination Osoyoos and the Economic Development Advisory and the Chamber of Commerce, a couple of them, and Council. And we had a very good day and talked over a lot of issues. So now upcoming, 3 things on of great importance before our next council meeting. One of them is the Relay for Life, which is on June the 22nd. That's this Saturday. It's down at Gyro Beach, the park, and it's from 12 noon until midnight. So it's a great event to come down and take part in, and even if you can't take part, come down and enjoy the entertainment and the food and just the excitement of people being down there. Miss Asuyas pageant is on June the 30th, and that is up at the Mini Theater. Kathy Baskett and Ann Berselli have organized this for years, and they do an excellent job at it. Miss Asuyas will be crowned. We have also spent quite a lot of time going back through the last 65 years trying to locate past royalty, queens and princesses. I don't think we've reached them all, but we have contacted quite a few of them. And so we're going to be asking those people to come to the royalty event, come up on the stage and have a picture taken. And then if they would like to be in the parade the next day, then my job is to find convertibles for them, although we may put 2 or 3 in one car. So that is going to be a great event. It's the 65th annual royalty, and it's also the 65th annual Cherry Fiesta on July the 1st. So that is a fabulous event. We have Elks Beer Gardens. We've got the Lions Pancake Breakfast. We have a parade. We have the best fireworks in Canada. We have entertainment from 12 o'clock until about 10 o'clock at night when the fireworks start. So please come down and enjoy all of those events in the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your report, Councillor McCordoff. I just got a few items here to wrap up, and my number one is pay your taxes, folks. I really would like to see a year when we don't have anybody who didn't pay and wanted to appeal a process that really there isn't. Since I've been on council, I haven't seen anyone with a successful appeal program because they were late. So as soon as you don't pay, it's a 10% penalty. You lose your homeowner grant. So just get that little notice, write a check out, post date it July the 2nd, drop it in the slot out front when you're going by, and your taxes will be looked after. So it would be a real bonus if we didn't have anyone misfire. So that's my number one choice. June is just a crazy month with everything wrapping up and people trying to get rid of, to pass on for their summer holidays and their summer enjoyment, and it's just getting busier and busier from cadets and graduations, and everything's closing down. So thank goodness Councillor Ryan picked up some slack and went to a couple events, and there's a couple more that I'm not going to make. Of note, Cactus Jalopies, very good job. JF and that whole crew out there, they put on a great show down there. Grad was wonderful. Glen Heinrichs, the principal that's taking a leave of absence. Boy, is that smooth. That whole graduation process, there's not a waste motion, word, energy. It just flows. It's wonderful to see that kind of organization. The museum's 50th anniversary, absolutely great. Wonderful cakes. The old logo from '63 to the new logo that they have this year. 2 different cakes and a lot of old Asuyas out there. And I get excited anytime I go out and see old Asuyas coming out for a celebration. Desert Park, that whole, I think Michael, Councillor Ryan, didn't hold his up. So I'm holding mine up, Val. How's that? Are you going to close in on that fine artwork? You got a nice close-up of that? Thank you very much, because being the last, I usually get preempted on everything that's been going on. So.
I tried to hold back.
So that was just so wonderful. I know people were talking, Councillor Ryan talked about the history, and I know I was on Channel 18 in Thanksville, and I was standing there sort of facing the grandstands, and the cars were backed up right up to the stop sign and coming up on that golf course leg up there. They were all backed up coming in, and it was just so wonderful to see that happen and revitalize and rejuvenate Desert Park. And to those volunteers that put in those thousands of hours, that I'm sure that made it worthwhile. Just to see the people there with the smiles and that. So there's a whole whack of people out there that need to be recognized, but I'm recognizing you, and you know, and thanks very much from the town and the citizens and the people that enjoyed that day. One quick final one, ADJA on 45th had their 1-year anniversary on Sunday. They'd been open 1 year, and they had wonderful chefs and all the food and lamb, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful show. So congratulations to, it's a multiple family joint venture, to the Noons and the Farinas, and I know they're going to do many more. The wine is incredible wines, and they're just getting out there and getting known, and working on about that 5,000 case level, and gonna stabilize that and do it well before they start looking at moving on. But congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. Soysa Cup this weekend, absolutely huge. They're expecting 800 soccer players in town, kids, and they're going to bring parents and all of that. So this is a real feather in Asuya's cap. And when I was up there for the Desert Park for the horse racing and that, man, is that beautiful. When you're looking at that field out there, and the vista is incredible. You can't do that anywhere else in the world, and we'll have all those kids up there on the soccer pitches and up at the schools and that. So that's going to be a hugely successful weekend, and another feather in the cap for Asuyas and those folks that are doing the organizing. I think that's enough. So I think I'll ask for a motion to receive all those reports. Councillor Ryan, Rhodes, motion to receive all that stuff. All in favor? It has been received. Motion to adjourn, Councillor McCordoff, Rhodes, all in favor. We are all going home, folks, and enjoy that South Okanagan sunny afternoon. Bye for now.